This is Tom Lando from the Metal Lab, and tonight I'm joined by metalcore misfits from Kent, Modes. Good evening, guys.
How you doing, Tom? You all right?
Not too bad. Can you just give everyone a quick introduction of who you are?
Yep.
Hi,
I'm. Oh, go on, Joe. You go first.
Hi, I'm Joe. I play guitar in the band. So,
And I'm Ted. I do vocals and shout and stuff. Front man.
So how's it both been for you over lockdown? How's things been with the band and getting together?
it's been difficult to say the least. So it's been obviously we're trying to record a new EP, but obviously that's had its own challenges, especially during the lockdowns where we couldn't get together, couldn't see each other. Everything was done via the computer, which was a bit different for us. But yeah, generally speaking, obviously we're getting towards the end of it now, so looking forward to hopefully get back to some form of normality in the near future.
Yeah, I think to be fair, well, obviously there's been its negative parts, like not being able to do practices and stuff. But I think it's actually kind of helped us in a way because we've learned to cope a little bit better with how to do things online and with writing and ideas and all that side of things. So I think in a way we've taken quite a lot away from it, to be fair. But it's definitely been odd not having practices and pub visits and other important things that we definitely do.
So where did it start for you both individually in music?
Go on, Ted.
So for me, I guess technically it started when I was pretty young. My dad tried to teach me classical guitar, which went well until he tried to teach me chords, and then I just gave up, which is still the case. I came back into it sort of mid to late teens, I guess, playing a little bit of guitar. Again, got to the point of playing chords and gave up, moved to bass. Got on with that for a few years and then picked up guitar, developed myself on there, and then decided that I wanted to be a frontman, so I forced myself to learn vocals. And then here we are a couple of years later, which is a bit mad to think how much I changed and developed my vocals on their own, just from screaming in the car and at practices and stuff. But yeah, that's sort of my personal sort of development, I guess.
Joey?
So I got into like light rock, punk rock sort of stuff. Probably must be about 10 or 11 through some friends, and then obviously progressed through there. Obviously had the heyday of metalcore in the mid 2000s. Bands like As I Lay Dying, Killswitch Engage, all that sort of stuff. So grew up with that. Kept going with there. Probably started playing guitar. I think I was about 13, maybe. So around that time, and then obviously kept getting heavier and heavier with stuff. Got really big into death metal, and then obviously technical death metal as well. Being a guitar player, I was like, looking at the guitar playthroughs online and just being like, oh my god, how do I do this? And then so I just progressed from there, really.
Cool. So how did it all come together for Modes as of a complete band lineup that we have now?
So Sam, our other guitar player, I think the band was his idea. I know he knew Jack and Ryan, Jack's our drummer and Ryan's our bass player, from music college. And then I'll let Ted say his bit because I'm not quite sure how he got involved. But I basically saw a post on a band member's page on Facebook.
Cool.
Metalcore band wanting guitar players. I was like, oh, okay, I'll give this a go. And then met the guys. Obviously, got involved. I'd played in bands with Ted before, so I knew somebody, which was good. And we've all become great friends since. And obviously, we're about 3 years later. Here we are, cracking on with it. So it's all good.
Yeah. So, sorry. So for me, joining Modes, similar sort of thing to Joe, to be fair. Like I said, I decided one day, I woke up and just went, I want to be a vocalist. I'd been watching loads of bands playing like their live sets, as it were, a lot of Bring the Horizon, Architects, that side of things, like download and these big things. And I was like, I mean, it's fun playing bass. I want to be that guy at the front. Like, I want to be the one leading it all and doing all that sort of stuff, and it really appealed to me. So I just went. I said to my girlfriend at the time, fiance now, that I wanted to be a frontman. She's like, go for it. And I was like, I should probably look online. Went on Join My Van, found that Sam was looking for a vocalist, and went, yep, I'll apply for that. I can definitely do vocals. And at the time, it was like I could manage, and then they definitely weren't great vocals, but they were something. And I met them at the pub. They liked me, I liked them, got on with them, had a good laugh, and then met a couple of weeks later for our first practice, and just the rest is history, really. Just another thing as well, Tom, just quickly, sorry, one of my friends has just said that they can't see the stream. I don't know if it's just the
Metal Lab.
Yeah, they're in the Metal Lab. I think it's just
has been shared.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what's going on there. I think you may have it set to friends only from your profile.
It's only if they're not a member of the Metal Lab, then they might not be able to view it.
I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
just
I'll share it out anyway, obviously to everything, so it's not a problem.
No worries.
So the name Modes, where did the name originate from?
I believe it's obviously it's to do with music theory. I think obviously Sam was probably playing guitar one day. Obviously started going over modes, which is obviously groups of notes in a scale. And he was like, "Oh, the name Modes is kind of cool." And I think it's, as far as I know, it sort of stuck from there. So, we all sort of just got on with it, and this, it's become this, which is great. So,
I must admit, it was quite odd because there's been other bands and projects and stuff I've been in over the years, and every time it comes to the subject of what should we call ourselves, and there's loads of suggestions, and I personally got to the point of it doesn't matter the name, like we'll make the name what it is ourselves. So it was a bit of an odd one. So I was like, Mode's a bit different. It sort of has that sort of like Architects, like intervals kind of vibe to it. So I was like, sick, we can do some like progressive stuff, and it intrigued me a little bit from the start, just from the name, to be fair. But yeah,
that is the thing. It's a good talking point as well. So if someone goes to a gig and goes, Modes, who are they? What's all that about? It's quite that pink elephant in the room, isn't it? Because they're thinking, I wonder what they're gonna. Because there's no sort of specific genre that name's connected to. Do you get what I mean? So quite sort of mysterious in a way.
I think that comes in handy because obviously all of us have different influences, so it all works out. We can just sort of do what we want and make it our own thing. So
definitely. So who was involved in the whole writing process for the EP? How did obviously all go about?
So we all wrote. I think Sam wrote one song. I wrote two songs, and two songs Ted had as well. So. Which is a pain in the ass for me because Ted's riffs are really hard generally. But when myself and Ted joined, they already had our first song, which is "Run Away and Hide." That's the one Sam wrote. Yeah. And then when I first joined, I was like, okay, if I bring some riffs to the table, they might like me a bit more. So I come in with I think it was the start of Flame Alive. I think maybe I wrote half the song before the first practice.
I think so, yeah.
And then over time we tweak the songs, add bits, take bits out, add all the orchestral bits that we've done on a couple of the songs. So, generally we get in the practice room, we'd send the guitar profiles with guitar tabs out to each other from what we'd written, learn them, come back the next practice, dissect them a bit, get it all together. Jack would lay down some random drum ideas and go from there, really. That was the process for the first EP anyway.
Yeah, it was almost like a sort of trial and error situation for some of it. Like Joe was saying, like we'd come up with tabs, send them over, everyone would learn, and then the next practice would sort of go, well, it's not really working there, this thing could change. Or Joe would come up with a different riff and be like, let's try this here, and things like that, and just sort of develop it through, like I say, almost like a trial and error sort of situation with the first EP.
Yeah.
Runaway and Hide, the first song Sam had mostly done. I think we finished up the sort of like last probably third of it, I think. Just to round it up, I believe, once we were a full band. It was it's so strange to think how we used to do it, because obviously
Mm.
with lockdown and everything, it's changed a fair bit, but there are definitely elements that have stayed the same. It's strange.
So what was the idea in Runaway and Hide with the guitar intro? Where did that idea come from?
Oh,
All
so,
right.
so again,
Not the guitar, sorry. The piano intro, sorry.
oh, the classical.
I'd say
Yeah.
that's all you.
Is that
Yeah.
maybe like a bit of While She Sleeps sort of idea, or?
To be fair, I believe I was writing a different song at the time and had this big
Okay.
sort of intro. It's the same intro that she used on Runaway and Hide, but it went into a different song at the time. And I just thought of it as like it's something cool to walk on stage to. Like, it gets people like,
Yeah.
it pricks their ears up a little bit. They're like, okay, what's coming next, sort of thing. And then obviously those first chords hit, and it just works so well. It's, again, especially live, when we sort of hit play on the backing track, those classic pieces start, and those first chords hit, and it's like, we are modes. We're here to make you, well, have a good evening, we hope. And yeah, so the instrumentals for Runaway and Hide, for the intro, started off for a different song, and I just went, hold on a second, these are similar chords, we can move some things around here and make it fit and make it work, and it did. So yeah, that was Runaway and Hide.
It is very relevant though. I mean, I can see a lot of different influences in that song with a lot of other bands as well, which is pretty cool. And probably a lot of other people will hear that and think, oh yeah, I'll take a bit from this band and a bit from this band and put it together, and then they'll get that, similarity.
Yeah,
But I think you've done it to really, really good, effort on that.
yeah, it definitely pulls off. Thank you. Yeah. The classical side of False Promises or False Hopes, depending on what you want to call it.
Yeah.
That started out, I was bored one day and just wrote this classical piece and went, I want to use that in a song, that'd be really cool. And then sort of pictured like this big build up. We knew that we were going to be using drop A going down from drop C, so potentially retuning guitars or swapping over. So I thought it's the perfect opportunity to write something, have something playing while we're playing live, or while the guys are changing their guitars or whatever, and talk to the crowd a little bit. And it, again, that works so well live. The whole build up to it, and then it just smacks them in the face. Every time we play it live, I think I say, like, you're not ready for this, like. Yeah, and then obviously the song hits, False Promises, and it's funny seeing people's faces. They sort of take a step back, like, oh, yeah, you weren't joking when you said this is the heavy one, because obviously it's such a nice, like, oh, this is quite nice, and then it builds up and then bam, and so yeah, that one, yeah.
So obviously your new stuff's coming out soon. How has the last EP differed from obviously production, sound, everything to the new stuff?
It's a lot more technical, which is a pain in the ass for myself and Sam and Ryan. Obviously,
and me.
Yeah, we've made it 10 times harder for ourselves to pull this stuff off live, and yeah, I think it's a lot more bigger picture. There's a bit more of a theme to everything, a lot more well thought out, a lot more of trial and error. Obviously, we did it a bit different. We did a lot of the writing via Zoom meetings, so it's very different, but we're all extremely excited for it, and yeah, that's all I'm going to tease for now. So
yeah, I was going to say, I think it's a more mature sound, I would say. I would say look at our first EP as it's almost like a demo, like a little teaser, a little test in the water of what we can do and what we can do ourselves. Because a lot of it we recorded. Well, I say Joe recorded drums with Jack. All of the guitars were recorded ourselves. I recorded vocals in Joe's bedroom, for example. Whereas this next EP it's on another level. It's all of it is stepped up. The guitars, the drums, bass, vocals are all going to be stepped up. Even the backing tracks, there's little elements in there. And
awesome.
We were possibly writing some of them the other day, and it was just. Yeah, it's all coming together, and when it comes out, I'm very excited to see the reaction to it.
Cool. So is there a song that each of you have that you can relate to on the EP, personally relate to?
So for me, I think there's only Joe did, I think, Break Down the Walls, didn't you?
Yeah, I did Flame Alive and Break Down the Walls. I mean,
I meant
they've both got a similar message. Like, I mean, Flame Alive's, you know, Ted's lyrics on it. It's about like reminiscing and thinking of things you could have done better in your former, you know, younger years, and coming back. And then Break Down the Walls is a lot more about, you know, it's more about mental health. So, which is, you know, unfortunately for the last year, it's become, you know, a big thing. So it's sort of, yeah, I'm trying to get the words here, but yeah, it's come out. It seemed very relevant for the times we've had.
Yeah. Personally, False Promises is my go-to. I love that it's so heavy. It's about some very personal things going on. I don't want to go too into detail, but it's out the just pure anger. And honestly, when we play that live, it's so easy to just get angry on the microphone, lash out a bit on stage, and it just helps to bring everything out. And it comes across on the recording, and it comes across live and just works. Flame Alive I really like as well, because again, it's that message of like, just keep going, like, you're doing well.
Of course.
Doesn't matter what anyone else says, like, do you, like, keep going with it. And I really like that. And the cleans on the recording, so many people have said that doesn't even sound like you, and I was like, yeah, I know, like, yeah, I'm proud of those cleans and all of it, to be honest. So yeah, those two would be it'd be difficult to choose between those two.
That comes to my next question. That's actually fitted in really well. Ted, this is for you. So with obviously the clean and harsh vocals, how do you prepare your voice before you go on stage?
So, it's really odd. So
eats all the croissants.
See, for live performances, it's actually quite difficult because obviously we get there so early. We have to set everything up, merch down, and setting all the gear up and things. So I find it difficult to warm up for shows, to be honest. Whereas for practices, obviously I'm on my own. I'm in the car, drive there, set up quickly, plug the microphone in, and off we go. So when we go to practices, I'll scream along to songs, sing along to our songs, and just warm up myself doing that sort of way. Whereas when we play live, obviously I can't just stand there in the venue and just scream and shout at a wall. I probably could, but people think I'm a bit odd. So I try and isolate myself a little bit when it gets closer to the time of going on stage. A bit of warm water, a bit gargling, some almost like internal singing, as it were, like just a bit of humming, just to get it a little bit warm. And then just lots of hydration on stage, like not only for the vocals, but because obviously we try to make sure we put on a good show. So there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of sweat and grossness. So I have to make sure that I drink for those purposes as well. And that's pretty much all I do for live shows. Like I said, it's quite difficult for me to warm up for live shows.
Yeah, something that's always quite interested me, because when I've been to a lot of like Cradle of Filth shows and stuff, and Danny Filth, like you can hear him like an hour before the doors open, you know, and he's proper screaming like, wah! And you think, oh my god, there's preparation, you know. Then he blinding show, and I just think, wow, unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, obviously at the venues that we normally play, they're fairly small and things, and people are already there, and I always just feel really awkward if I just to start shouting and singing and stuff. But I think with this new stuff, I may have to put a bit more effort into warming up for shows.
So how do you think the underground scene's going to be now in the next sort of 6 to 8 months, with everything, you know, lifting and, you know, preparations for new gigs? I mean, on the Metal Lab, we've got the gig guide, and all we're seeing at the moment is everyone's just posting gigs after gigs after gigs. So, you know, it's looking quite positive in the UK. So what's
personally, I think there's going to be a big boom. Obviously, it's been so long since they've been able to go to any gigs, let alone big gigs or small gigs, whatever. Everything has been closed. So I think for the more underground scene, as it were, I think it's going to be a big comeback, because obviously everyone's missing those gigs. The bigger shows are going to be, they'll still be going ahead, but they might be more difficult to go to. People might want to stay home a little bit closer to home, and I think it's just going to help push the people to go, we'll try to go down to the pub tonight and see that band, rather than traveling to London on the train and meeting a load of people and things. So I think it's gonna a bit of a boom. I think things will settle out a little bit after a few months. Hopefully it'll stay huge. Who knows? But I think it'll settle back. It'll go back into sort of what it was. But I think it'll definitely bring a few more supporters into the underground side of things. I mean, even today while I was at work, I got messaged by a promoter, which I actually need to sort out, asking for us to play gigs and things already. I mean, it's quite strange to me anyway for promoters to be going, "Hey, do you want to play this gig? Like, we've got a few coming up. We want to check when you're free," because obviously before we were having to chase promoters, see when there were gigs we could get in on, see if messaging bands even being like, "Hey, can you put a word in for us?" and things like that. Whereas now to have people coming to us to go, "Do you want to get on this bill? When are you free?" sort of thing is, I don't know if it's because of the pandemic or just because we're absolutely amazing. But
that's brilliant news, though, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think the important thing is for venues to start getting on board with the underground scene as well. Smaller venues, I think, obviously they've been struggling for the last 12 to 18 months. So they need. I think it's important to get the grassroots bands and get them in there, and get the 200 or 300, because they know that a lot of underground bands are going to sell that anyway. So we need to really get on board with it.
Yeah, it's definitely a sort of work together to help each other sort of situation. I mean, obviously, if the venues are there to put us on, we'll bring people, we'll make new fans, hopefully, and then next time we'll be able to bring even more people, and it will hopefully just snowball both sides of things. But yeah, it's definitely it's exciting to see what's going to happen, I think.
Joe?
Yeah, to be fair, I'm with Ted on this one. Obviously, I think there's going to be a big boom of new music as well. Obviously, a lot of bands have been, working on new stuff, which is great because, you can have a ton of awesome songs that they're going to be coming out relatively soon. Obviously, you've got a lot of bands as well who have released stuff through the pandemic. I mean, we released our EP, was it April last year? So,
yeah,
see that come out. We didn't get a chance to play it properly because obviously there's been no shows, but I mean, it'd be good to get out and do that again. And then, I think the underground scene is going to be massive over the next couple of years, recovering from the year and a half we've had off of it also.
Definitely.
I think it is amazing as well. And it's a kudos to all of the artists and the bands that aren't signed on, they can all perform in a pandemic, live with each other and recording. And some of the quality is just, it's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Kudos to you guys. It's just like, wow, how you able to do it, and you think, flipping heck, I think you take being in the studio for granted so much. But
definitely, even small things like there's been some bands release music recently, like for example the City is Ours or Caskets. Some of their videos, you almost forget that they've had to socially distance for them and take those precautions into account, whereas before it's like, it doesn't matter if we get close, and I don't know, like it's really odd to me that they're still able to produce these videos and, like you say, get into the studio and everything and record at the quality that they are recording at. And I mean, I know I keep coming back to what we've got in the works at the moment, but even the demos that we came up with when we initially wrote our new stuff, I was listening to them in the car, for example, and it's mad to know what we can do via a Zoom call, let alone what we can do in person now. And it's crazy. I mean, I think part of it is definitely down to some of the technology advancing, like obviously some of the plugins and things on the recording software that we use now. We can all use and have the exact same sound come out of our computer.
Yeah.
That's a massive help. And then obviously with videos and stuff, some of the progression like green screening and all of the special effects afterwards has obviously helped mask some of the precautions that bands have had to put in place too. But it's definitely impressive to see how bands have progressed through the lockdown.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, I've seen a lot of bands as well that I've been sort of following over the last 18 months. They've been doing a lot of online sort of ticketed gigs, like stream gigs.
Yeah.
Has ever crossed your mind to do that sort of like, maybe in the future or something, just to gain a bit more sort of online interest as well?
I think, unfortunately, at the moment, it's a bit financially unviable for us. Obviously, it's a lot of to get that set up going is obviously we haven't really got that sort of money at the moment. Obviously, we'd love to be able to do it. We'd have been love to be able to do it throughout the whole pandemic, but obviously us all getting together as well. A couple of us are high risk as well, like myself and Sam. We're both a high risk category, so obviously we just didn't want to take those risks, and also it's unfortunately it was just too much money to do at this stage of the game. But obviously, hopefully, maybe in a few years we'll be able to do those sorts of things. So
hopefully we won't need to.
Well, that's the main thing.
Yeah, I'm with Joe on that. Like, it's definitely crossed my mind, and obviously, like you said, Tom, like seeing bands do it and have these ticketed online gigs is really cool, and I wish we could have done it. It's literally just the cost of setting it up and having someone to do it just wasn't really viable for us, unfortunately. I mean, I know Joe. Like even trying to do like videos in your bedroom playing guitar on your own is a bit of a challenge at sometimes because of space and things, and it's definitely it definitely be something that I want to look into. Like you say, Tommy, it's something to grow the online audience and overseas and things without having to fly across countries and stuff. But yeah, it's at the moment I think it's a little bit too far out of our reach.
Yeah, cool. I've seen a band, I think it was Beyond Your Design, they done it, and they actually done it on all, none of them were together, so they all done their own sort of bits of the songs, mixed it all in, and it was a complete like gig, but they'd all done it from their own places.
Okay.
How it was done, it was really, I was watching it and it was like, wow, that is unbelievable. Cool. Fitted together, but they weren't all together, they were in their own like rooms, or one was in a studio, but it just all fitted, and I was like, really cool, isn't it?
That's really cool. Yeah,
that's incredible.
The only other issue we would have with that is obviously I can't really scream at home, and Jack can't play drums where he is and things like that. So it would definitely be a case of we'd both have to find somewhere else to go to. But yeah.
So what challenges have you faced as a band, and how have you obviously overcome them? If you gone to gigs and people have been, pretty dickish about you, or have you had a good reception all the time?
To be honest, we've never had any hassles. We've never had any bad reception. We've never been booed off stage, thankfully.
Not yet. Touch wood.
Touch wood. Generally, I mean, we've gone quite far out. Obviously, we've stayed in the south of the UK, but everywhere we've been, we've had a generally good reception. So we've never had any awful experiences. I don't think. We've had a couple of minor bits, but nothing too drastic. So.
Yeah, I would agree with Joe there. For the most part, we've had a good reception to what we do. Whether that's bands, other, I don't know, venue owners, all sorts of people have joined in and supported us, sung along, clapped their hands, including barmaids, the promoters, all sorts of things. Just we try to put on a show for everyone and make sure that we're remembered, and I think that helps. We try and talk to the bands that we play with and things. Obviously, sometimes they're busy and doing their own thing and things like that. But for the most part, we go out there to have fun, to put a show on, to make friends and to make fans. And I think that's just worked for us every time. I can't think of a bad experience. There's definitely been some situations that have been questionable at times, but like Joe says, for the most part, it's all been really good for us, I think.
Awesome. I think it is important that you do have that relationship with the fans as well, because when I go to gigs, and if I want to see a band that I've, followed for a long time, and then I speak to them and they just like proper ignorant, it really annoys me. And I think, you know what, there's no need for that. I've come and, traveled 50, 60 miles to come and see you, and you ain't got time just to say hello,
That's it, yeah.
that is a big thing for me. You know, growing up as well. I mean, I've been listening to metal since I was 16, so it's 30 odd years, you know, and it's always been an ethos of mine that regardless what band you're in, you should always have time just to, even at the merch table, hi, you know, thanks for buying your merch, you know, because without the fans, none of it would be possible, would it?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, after, you know, before and after the shows, we're at the merch table, you know, if not one of us more, you know, we're always there to talk to people, you know. So we just try and keep that, you know, positive relationships with everyone we meet, really. Sometimes it works out better than others, but generally speaking, this worked out well so far. So, yeah, no complaints, really.
And you never know who it could be either. It could be some who wants to sign you up, and there you go. You know?
Exactly, yeah.
The local press or whatever.
Yeah, the way it normally works is one of us is on the merch stand. A couple of them are out in the smoking area outside having a pint, chatting with a load of people, and then people milling around and watching the rest of the gig, sort of thing. And for me, not only is it like the performance side of things that I really enjoy, but it is the meeting new people and having those chats in the smoking area while you're having a pint, sort of thing. And like, just walk up to a random person and be like, I like your t-shirt, and how's your day? Did you catch our set? Like things like that. And I mean, it's worked for us wonders, especially in Wickham, for example, to the point where we've gone outside now and they've been like, oh, you're the guy from Modes. That's a really good set, sort of thing. And it's really strange because obviously I would still consider us a young band. Being able to go somewhere and being recognized for what we do is very humbling.
But it feels cool though, doesn't it? I mean, you know.
Yeah, it's unreal. Like, especially, you know, like Break Down the Walls, for example, we get the crowd involved in the chorus. When you're standing there trying to play the song and you're looking up and everyone's shouting the words back at you, it's kind of a like pinch me moment for sure.
With me running around putting the mics to people's mums and granddads or whatever.
that happened. Yeah, that's happened.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's probably, you know, one of the songs where we get a lot of crowd feedback as well, and it's great. I'll never get sick of that feeling. Like every time we play that song and the crowd are shouting the lyrics back at us, it's definitely an insane moment for me anyway. Yeah,
I agree with that, and it helps, like I said, to make those memories, not just for us, but for people that come to the shows. That people go away going, that band that got us to sing along, like they were really cool. Let's go check them out, and it just helps to make the fans and make friends.
So all of you have got different influences musically. Obviously, I know from, you know, speaking to most of the band. So how is that sort of amalgamated into the new EP and the new sound? Has it all sort of come together really well?
Yeah, we've been working with Nick, who's the drummer of Our Hollow Our Home. With he's got a company that, you know, helps out bands and does all that sort of stuff. So we'd sit, you know, we get on the Zoom calls with him. I'd have, you know, a riff. Ted would have another riff. They work together, you know, and then we cut them up, put them together, you know, play it one way or the other. We did a lot of experimentation with working out which riffs worked well. And it was definitely good having Nick's perception there as well, because he could, instead of us sitting there playing guitar thinking, oh my God, this riff is great, he's looking at us like, what the no, this is crap, get rid of it.
Yeah, it's definitely helped having him on board. His company 6 Point Media, and he's done wonders for us, and not just with writing but learning things as well. But in terms of what Joe was saying, we'd both write riffs and try and make them together. Yeah, some of them are even to the point where we've both tabbed them out and literally just almost laid them over the top of each other, and there's notes from both going all over the place. And it's very strange that sometimes such different ideas can just work so well together. Joe and I definitely do have our own sort of style on guitar, and in the first EP, I think you can hear it on Flame Alive and Break Down the Walls. You can tell that's like that style, and then False Promises, I Refuse is like a different sort of style, but it still sort of blends. Whereas with the new stuff, it's more, there might be like one
more cohesive,
like
I'd say.
yeah, it's like you can. There's that same sort of thing, but throughout a song. So there'll be like this one riff, like oh, that's a bit different, and it'll come up with a different riff, and it's like it's a slightly different style, but it still works. It's really weird, but really good. And yeah, it was yeah. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it does work very well together.
It is quite a weird genre because a lot of like metalcore bands that I spoke to, a lot of them have a lot of punk influences. Like growing up listening to punk music, and to me, I can't really sort of see that connection. But I speak to some bands in the US, you know, a band called Dino, metalcore, female fronted, and other bands as well. And a lot of them said growing up, the big influence for them was the punk sound. Is that quite similar to you guys, or
Not really. Not really for me. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously, when I started listening to music, it was more, you know, if you like Blink-182s, your Sum 41s, but obviously quickly got past that point. And yeah, I was always really into very notey music, like a bit more technical stuff. So, like, you know, hearing, say, Early As I Lay Dying with the, you know, screaming verses and the very melodic choruses, that definitely had a big influence on me. Like all those, you know, early metalcore bands, like, you know, Killswitch Engage, As I Lay Dying, I Killed the Prom Queen. You know, there's too many to name, but yeah. Then having like listening to, because I'm a massive technical death metal fan as well, so listening to, you know, bands like Necrophagist, where it's almost doing like vocal lines, but the guitars, you know, with the guitar, and I've always been really into that sort of thing. Then similar bands like, you know, Intervals do it as well. Obviously, their guitars are, you know, supposed to be imitating vocal melodies and stuff like that. So
yeah, we've definitely taken note of that onto our new stuff as well. I mean, I think it goes for most of the bands, to be honest, with the sort of metalcore side of things. I know Jack likes his Bullet for My Valentine and Axe Wound and things like that. I was huge into like Killswitch Engage again, Bullet for My Valentine, those big sort of metalcore bands. I know Sam was a fan of, well, I don't know if he still is, but was a big fan of like the early Bring the Horizon stuff and things like that. So I feel like the metalcore bands played a much bigger part on us. The punk side of things definitely comes through in Ryan. His bass lines tend to sort of follow their sort of patterns, as it were, and even down to like the ways that he picks the bass and all sorts of things. Just there's little hints of it here and there that a lot of people tend to gloss over, because obviously the bigger picture is progressive metalcore, whatever subgenre you want to put it under, and they sort of gloss over it. Whereas because where I used to play bass as well, I played all sorts of stuff, and I started with punk things, so there was a lot of Green Day, a lot of Sum 41. I went into a little bit of Blink-182 and Rise Against, that side of things. So when I sort of sit there and watch him, I can almost see it, and it's quite odd to know that is the sort of underlying feature of what we do as well. But again, it's nice to know that those inspirations are coming through. It's a little bit of personality from us all that just adds to the whole image.
Well, I think the thing is with us is we've never said it. Anything's off the table. Like Ryan's speak to Ryan again. He's obviously a massive punk guy, and he also loves pirate metal. And what's that?
Hailstorm.
Yeah, yeah. That, but yeah, he's into all that sort of stuff. So we've had ideas, you know, maybe like almost like a piratey theme going into a song, like a piratey classical piece. I mean, yeah. You know, there's all sorts of stuff, and obviously Ryan picks super hard, so which is also good. Which is, you know, it comes in handy with the recordings for sure.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is when you said about the sort of intros and stuff, Joe, it reminded me that Sam went through. He quite well at one stage he really wanted like some electronic beats and things like that coming through. And the other day we were writing things, and there may or may not be some more electronic sounding aspects to our stuff as well that will shine through a little bit too. So yeah, we do try and incorporate everything, or obviously within some limits, but if it works, then it works. And that's what we've always sort of said. When we wrote the first EP, we sort of went, if it sounds good, we're going to go with it. If it sounds bad, personally, I will say so. Other people went through different sort of diplomatic processes of that. But yeah, it was definitely a case of if it sounds good, we'll do it. If it sounds bad, we're not doing it and we'll do something else.
Yeah.
I think for me growing up, heavy metal at the time, there was no genres. It was just heavy metal, in the late 90s, you had Napalm Death, Fear Factory, Sepultura, System of a Down, bands like that. But obviously, you young guys are coming through, all the genres are coming out. Do you think there's a lot more younger people that are getting into sort of metalcore and deathcore? I mean, I go to gigs like with my son, the Art is Murder, Partway Drive, and all I seem to see is sort of 18 to 22, 23-year-olds, and that is it. I mean, do you think that it's more of a music for the youth now?
I'd say no, because I mean we've in ways yes, but we've got a lot of fans who are I'm not going to be rude, but in their maybe 30s and 40s as well. Like we've met people when we've played in Kent, and
awesome.
They're slightly older than you'd expect, and they're like, "Oh, we love your stuff." It's great. So I'd say, in a way, yes, but we've still got you're always going to have that younger audiences who are maybe getting into metalcore, and they're like, "Oh my god, found you guys," all that sort of stuff. But I think the core audiences. I think if you listen to metal, you're going to be listening to metal forever. I think obviously that's the way it is.
Yeah, definitely.
So all those guys are just they still want to be there, and we see them at the smaller shows all the time. They're always coming out, getting involved. So
yeah, I was going to say I don't think there's a specific sort of age group that we would cater for, and like obviously there's going to be the teenage years coming through and finding it through whatever reasons. There was definitely a bigger boom, sort of, for me anyway, that was sort of like mid 2000, like 15, 14, that sort of time, when sort of I think then had another sort of resurgence of metalcore almost, and I think it's happening again now with bands like Architects and the more progressive side of things coming through. Thinking of who I've seen at shows, whether it's been our shows or big shows, there's always been a mix. I think there's the last big gig I went to, I believe, was Parkway Drive, and I mean at the front, it's always funny at gigs to me, because at the front you get the young ones, and then as you get back further and further back, the age group gets older and older and older, and the pints get more and more and more. Yeah. So thinking to gigs that I've been to and we've played and stuff, there's always been a mix, whether there's just a handful of people or whether there's thousands of people. There's always a mismatch of people, and I really like that, because it's everyone just enjoying themselves. There's no like, oh, you're the older group, whatever. And again, we always make a point of trying to talk to everyone, whether that I'm pretty sure we've got someone that's been to our shows that's been in their 70s or 80s, definitely getting on a little bit, and made a point of talking to him, and then next thing you know, we're talking to someone that's still like at school or whatever. And it's again, it's that side of things that's just, it's like a family almost. And I think you're always going to get that in metal. You're going to get the people that are like, oh, you don't listen to the same subgenre as me or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're all there for a good time. We all listen to similar stuff, and I like that it's so diverse, and not just with ages either.
It took me a lot of time, because I'm obviously a lot older than you guys. I mean, I was sort of into my 90s metal, and I was stuck there for a lot of years. And then my son grew up, and I started taking him to see bands like Trivium and stuff like that when he was 10, and then that opened up my whole world of new genres, because I went to see a band called Neobliviscaris.
I know that.
The whole violin thing totally sort of, I was like, God, what is this? But it actually fitted really well, and it was just like, is this metal? And my son was like, Dad, this is what it sounds like now. This is the new version of the sound. And I was like, wow, and it's amazing that people are coming up with these ideas.
Well, that's it. I mean, I was at Download, I think it was 2018. I was at Download, and I was in one of the tents, and there was an a cappella metal band playing. I can't remember the name of them. I do apologise if they're out there, but yeah, I'm just like, okay, this doesn't really make sense, but it's cool. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's so different. It's like you wouldn't think could mix with metal, but it works. So
yeah, I love it when you listen to bands and they try and put something different in there. I may be wrong here, but I believe August Burn Red try to put something different in every one of their albums, and they just experiment with different instruments, whether it's in the backing or all sorts of stuff. And there's some weird instruments that I'm sure it's them.
Yeah, Marianne was Strange. That was one of their first singles.
Yeah, and there's some mental instruments that they've used, and it just at first it's sort of like a bit odd, but then it just works, and that's what I love. That people are willing to try these things, and if it doesn't work, then at least they tried, sort of thing.
That's it. When you look at like Architects, they've just released. I can't remember the name of the song. They've just released a video with the live orchestra, and you're like, you know, and it sounds amazing, and it's just, you know, epic as anything. So
that is definitely on the goals tick list.
100%, yeah.
So, how does social media impact on obviously exposure for the band?
It's massive for us, yeah. Especially obviously in today's day and age, it is huge. Obviously, trying to keep up with quality content, obviously releasing new stuff, obviously marketing ourselves. It's giant. Obviously, you know, that's what, you know, labels and that look at nowadays. If you're going to get signed to be like, okay, what's their following like on Instagram? What's their following like on Facebook? You know, that's the stuff people look at, even with, I think, endorsements as well. Not that we've got any endorsements or anything, but that's the first thing they look at, like how many people are you reaching?
Yeah.
So it's huge.
Yeah, I was just going to say on that subject as well, it's the same with some shows. Like, there's places that I've messaged to try and get our shows at, and it's like, you need this amount of followers, you need a music video, stuff on Spotify, this amount of listens, and there's a big old tick list sort of thing to even qualify to be considered there. Which in some ways is kind of cool to think that, like, you need to have been like around for a little while and you have this following, and if you play a gig there, you're gonna get a gig. Oh, you're gonna have a good show, sort of thing. But at the same time, I don't like the fact that there's so much pressure almost on keeping up these numbers. And it's like, well, how many, let's say a band's got 15,000 followers on there, how many of them are actually going to be showing up to shows? How many of them are actually supporting them? And I'm sure a couple of years ago I saw it a lot on some of the groups, that a lot of bands went through a phase of sort of paying for likes and stuff just to try and get on these sort of shows, and it kills it. And I've always said with Mode stuff that I wanted to make sure that our fan base online is our fan base. Like, they're the people that are going to interact, they're going to come to the shows, they're there to support us, and not just because it's an easy click on a screen sort of thing. I mean, if people want to click on the screen and then decide that they do like us, then great, sort of thing. But it's always been a thing of, we want to make sure that it's our proper fans and not just a fake number almost. And I believe it's Instagram as well went through a phase of trial and taking likes off of posts so that you couldn't see them. So because it's again, it's one of those things, you put up a post and then it's not getting likes, and it's like, oh, that one's not doing very well. Maybe we need to take it down and retry it with different hashtags. And it's a stressful thing, and obviously it encourages this whole compete against other bands and other profiles, whatever sort of thing it's with, whether it's with music stuff or other stuff. And personally, I hate that, because it should be everyone's there to help each other. And again, goes back to that. If there's another band and you're trying to be better than them, don't do that. Try and lift them up, show them what to do, and then in the future they might support you and push you up a little bit. Who knows?
I think venues need to reevaluate it, because obviously, excuse me, as you were saying about the followers, you could have 15,000 followers, but 12 are all over the world. So, you know, they're not really predominantly going to come to UK gigs, are they?
Exactly, yeah.
But I think smaller venues need to reevaluate it, because there are some bands out there that I know that have a massive following. Like, for instance, Ben and Prison. You know, I've followed them for quite a long time. You know, they've toured with Partway Drive, Thy Art Is Murder, everything. So they have that fan base there, but that shouldn't just be based on your followers, should it? You know?
That's it, yeah.
I agree.
You could have a band like yourself that could bring 150, 200 people, you know?
Yeah.
But
and I was just going to say, and that's the thing with us, is that we tend to find if we play a gig, we can almost guarantee that there's going to be this amount of people coming up because they're the fans and they're willing to travel to come and see us, whether it's in their town or not. And like, we've played shows down in Tunbridge, and we've had people travel like hours to come and see us because they're the fans. And again, we know that they're going to be trying to come to our shows. And it's the same with launching the merch, like with the hoodie pre-order run. Before we did that, I wrote a list of people that I thought were going to pay for them, and almost all of them did, because they're the fans and they're the ones that we know support us, sort of thing. And then there are a few extras. There are some that didn't for various reasons, and that's okay. But it goes to show that there is definitely for us that the core fan base, and we love that about our band. And obviously, we're hoping that we can grow that, and that's what we're there for. And just making memories and more friends.
And making noises in the right places, definitely. Okay, so before we finish up, we're going to do a little Metal Lab quick fire quiz. Okay, so it's going to be called Joe versus Ted.
Oh, cool. Here we go.
I'm going to give you two
I need a buzzer.
So, streetwear or band merch?
Oh, band merch.
Band merch, yeah.
Skating or BMX?
Skating.
Technical death metal or metalcore?
Metalcore for me.
I'll go tech death.
Oh, this would be a good one. Killswitch Engage or Architects?
Killswitch Engage.
I'm gonna have to say Killswitch as well, I think.
Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones?
Lord of the Rings, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I'll go with Lord of the Rings on that one too.
Horror or sci-fi?
Sci-fi.
Oh, can we combine them and say Alien? I think sci-fi as well. Yeah.
Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh,
Star Wars again, without question.
Yeah.
Freddy or Jason?
Freddy.
I think Freddy too. Cooler character design.
Cool. That's so good. Is there any shout outs or any thanks or anything you'd like to say before we end the show tonight?
Go on, Joe, you go first.
Okay, yeah, big shout obviously to all the fans who supported us for the last 15 to 18 months, however long obviously this pandemic's been going on now. I've lost count. Yeah, big shout to all the guys who supported us. Really appreciate it.
Definitely.
Yeah. Big shout out to Ibanez Guitars, because their guitars are sick. Who else? I'll go with that for now.
Okay. I'll thank the fans as well. You guys know who you are. Tom, you're one of them, obviously.
Cool.
Big
thank you
Tom.
to you and everyone at the Metal Lab that's helped us and supported us. My parents have helped me a lot and put up with a lot of noise in my. I was going to say a lot of noise in my bedroom, but realised how bad that sounds. A lot of my guitar playing and helped me to develop that, especially my dad. A big thanks to Nick at 6 Point Media and everything he's done for us and will do for us in the future as well. And yeah, just thank you to everyone that's supporting us and going to carry on supporting us.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to find Mode, go on all social media sites. They're all over the place. Yep. Some sites are a little bit different. I find usually it's capital letters that find you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did have this all written down because that would have been really useful.
We've got Facebook, Instagram. We do have a website. Obviously, if you click the link in our Instagram bio, that'll take you to our website. Don't ask me what the website address is off the top of my head. I'm very sorry. Our website is also linked in our Facebook account, so you can go for it that way. that will take you to obviously all our YouTube accounts, our Big Cartel store. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Ted, help me.
Yeah, so our Instagram is @modes_UK.
There we go.
Facebook, if you want to find us, you can type in Modes Metalcore, I believe it will come up. And then again, our website is www.modesband.co.uk. And that will take you, there's an about section, there's the store, there's the YouTube, everything. Please check out the videos. They're a lot of fun and look really cool. And then again, find us on Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, everything and anything.
Everywhere.
And again, we really, really, really appreciate all of the support that we get. And again, thank you, Tom, for having us on.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tom. It's been great.
And if anyone isn't joining the Metal Lab, then come and join the Metal Lab, the home of underground metal. Support Modes. Obviously, buy the merch, because this is obviously what's keeping bands alive at the moment. So I'm going to say thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Yeah, thanks very much, Tom. It's been great.
Thank you for having us.
Everyone watching.